What's up guys, CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new Star Wars video, this time talking about a really interesting phenomenon that we're seeing unfold right now with regards to The Last Jedi. I'm speaking, of course, about the purported divide between critics and fans, and you'll understand why I say purported in a little bit, because this controversy isn't exactly what it seems, although, to be honest, that's kind of a controversy in and of itself. But let's start our story at the beginning. The Last Jedi social media embargo lifted exactly 1 week ago today, to many critics and regular people in attendance singing its praises, with some calling it the best Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back, but on the whole most simply agreeing that it was a good film. This was backed up on Tuesday when the review embargo lifted to reveal the movie's 93% score on Rotten Tomatoes, tying it with A New Hope and The Force Awakens, 1 point behind The Empire Strikes Back and its 94% score, which retains its position as best in the franchise. But the RT score only requires a film to be rated roughly higher than a 6 out of 10, so even more impressive is the fact that the film also has an average rating from critics of 8.2 out of 10, tying it with The Force Awakens for third in the franchise behind episodes 4 and 5. Then something happened that I don't think a lot of people expected to happen. When the audience saw it and began to emerge from showings, Rotten Tomatoes revealed the audience score for the movie to be a remarkably low 57%, tied with Attack of the Clones, one of the worst movies in the franchise according to just about everybody. This kind of divide between critics and audiences was baffling, in part because of how massive the gap in scores was, but not just because of that, but because you usually do see a gap just going the other way. Usually the critics are far tougher on a film than audiences are. I mean, as an example, take a look at the RT scores versus audience scores for any of the DCEU films, or even a movie from the Star Wars franchise like Return of the Jedi, which critics were a little more critical of than audiences. This supposed example of a divide fuels a narrative that's been developing for a few years, or at least one that kicked into a higher gear with those mostly critically panned DCEU films I just mentioned, that critics are out of touch with audiences. It also seemed to be a victory for those against the new Star Wars trilogy, a repudiation or refutation of Disney's tenure at the helm of the franchise, proof that the audiences agreed with them that the new movies were a slap in the face and a step in the wrong direction. Well, about that. Many around the web were quick to note an important thing about Rotten Tomatoes' audience score. It essentially is run on the honor system. I mean, the site doesn't ask for proof from audience reviewers before they review it, meaning that anyone can rate the film, even those that didn't actually see the movie. Folks like John Campeo were quick to note the discrepancy between the RT audience score and another score furnished by the viewing public, IMDb's rating, which had the film at an 8.0, relatively close to the critics' average score from Rotten Tomatoes. But therein lay another issue. IMDb doesn't ask for proof either, meaning that you have the same problem, which to be fair could have potentially gone the opposite direction in this case and could have contributed to the higher scores there than we saw on Rotten Tomatoes. The solution? Well, how about a statistically relevant and significant system that makes sure the only people rating the movie are those that have actually seen it? Ladies and gentlemen, introducing CinemaScore. CinemaScore was established in 1978 as an impartial way for the movie-going public to express their thoughts about films, establishing an audience voice where previously only critics' opinions had been heard. You know, a few decades before the internet would give the same power to just about anybody with a computer or phone. CinemaScore polls people at movie theaters across the US and Canada and has them assign a film a letter grade, along with 5 other questions determining why they saw the film, whether they'd buy or rent the film, and of course their age and gender. So with that in mind, and keeping in mind that CinemaScore polls only from audiences that definitively saw the movie, what is The Last Jedi's CinemaScore? You might be surprised to learn that the film scored an A, not a B like the IMDb audience rating suggests, and not an F like the RT score suggests. Make of that what you will, but what it seems to suggest to me is that the RT score was artificially deflated by people that hadn't actually seen the movie. I mean, it's really unlikely, statistically speaking, that such large sample sizes being polled about the same thing would differ so widely. But there's a problem that still remains, even if the controversy was a little bit overblown, which it now seems to be. That problem on Disney's hands is that there's a group of fans. It's a minority, but it's a clearly very vocal minority that are not agreeing with the direction of this new trilogy for whatever reason, whether it's because Disney's wiped out the old EU to make way for their new films or something completely different, even if they just preferred the original trilogy and hell, maybe even the prequels because it was Lucas at the helm and it didn't wipe out that EU. I don't know how Disney is going to solve this, and I'm not sure they're ever going to be able to bring these people back into the fold. But for better or worse, this group still exists, and Disney probably needs to make some overtures so that they don't keep doing things like this. This narrative, I think, was entirely fabricated by this group of people, and the Cinema Score luckily kind of lays bare the fact that it is false. The audience and critics weren't really that divided on this one. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this controversy, whether you believe it was fabricated or not. But that's going to do it for me here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider turning on your notifications to be alerted every time we upload a new video. For even more content, check out our website at hybridnetworkyt.com. And if you love HN and want to take your support to the next level, consider donating to us on Patreon as we strive to bring you the best content possible. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.